This is the model railroad we've built up on the wall, and as you can see, it's right over the door, and it runs around the room, and over here it's over the window, and we go all the way around the room, up above the door and up above the window, so it's out of the way. Now we're going to go to the point where we're going to bring it down, and we're going to build an entirely new layout and system, and we're going to bring it down to about shelf height. First thing you want to do is determine what height you're going to have your shelf on the wall to build your model railroad on. As you can see here, I marked off at 36 inches, 38 inches, and 42 inches. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to mark the wall all the way around the room at the 38-inch mark. Once you've done that, then you're going to want to scribe a line all the way around the room. Next, you're going to want to find out where each stud is. So just on your line, find out where the studs are. The next thing you need to do is to lay your shelf down on the floor to see how it fits. I'm doing an 18-inch wide shelf all the way around the room. Here we are in the man's room of the house, the garage, and we're painting the surface of the shelf with a gray called Paramount paint from Home Depot. Now we're putting the whitewash on, which we want to make it look as much like granite as we possibly can. And this is basically the way we're doing it. All this is what I have here is 10-to-1 white, off-white paint, which I'm using just off-white, and I'm taking like a teaspoon or a tablespoon and then putting 10 tablespoons of water in it and diluting it down, and that just gives it kind of a whitewashed gray look, which what we're trying to do is we're trying to achieve the look like a piece of granite. Now that we got our boards laid out, they're all painted, and we've laid them out in place. First thing you want to do is position your bracket about on the line, and what we're going to do is we're going to take a level, and we'll basically make sure that we've got it level with the line, and then we're also going to level it up so that it's level straight up and down. We're using a battery powered drill to drill with a 7/64 bit into the stud. Using an electric drill, we're going to basically put the drywall screw right into the studding. Now I'm going to install another bracket at this end of the shelf. What I want to do is at least put 3 brackets on each shelf. Now that we have 3 brackets in to hold this section of the shelf, we're going to put the shelf in place to see how it fits. The reason I put the brackets up this way is that I'm going to decorate the backdrop here with probably rocks like I did up above, and rather than having those brackets down below here, okay, I'm going to have them here so that I can cover up all the brackets. In order to stiffen up the plywood, because it's got a long expanse going across the window, I'm thinking of putting a block of wood across so it will stiffen it up. What I've done is I've marked out where the brackets are on the wall on the piece of board, and what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to notch it. Now I'm going to take a chisel and I'm just going to break these pieces out. As you can see, I've built my flip-up shelf, and it just flips up into place, and then I have locks underneath that I just lock it with. Let me say again that this is a drop-down shelf. In the first part, I've talked about a flip-up. I've changed it, and it is now a drop-down shelf. You can see I've attached the cleat for the drop down shelf, and I've screwed it into the studs on the wall. I've put the shelf in place and I'm ready to screw the hinges to the underside of the shelf. As you notice, I've left a little space in the back here, and don't forget that over by where the door is and where your doorknob is, you want to make enough space so that you don't run into your doorknob. Once you undo the window latches, the shelf just folds right down basically against the wall. The shelf is folded down against the wall so you can open the door and leave the door open when it's not in use. The other side, I have exactly the same thing, except it's a little longer because the door opening is wider. Over on the other side of the room, I have another drop-down shelf, but I've done this a little bit differently because the shelf is so long that it won't flop all the way down to the floor. It hangs up. So what I've done is I've done a double break here. Just undo the latches, and this drops down like this, and then the whole thing drops down to the floor. As you can see underneath, I have the cleat tied into the wall, then the hinges and the shelf itself here, and then over here where the double shelf is, I have hinges right here holding the double shelf, and then where it's connected, where the two shelves are connected together right here. If you were going to put it just on the shelf, you'd put the cleat right underneath the shelf here and then attach your shelf that would drop. I've put a second wallboard screw into the bottom hole of all the brackets around the room. I've cut some cleats that I'm going to put underneath the shelf where the breaks are in the shelf so that I can just tie the shelves together and have a nice strong connection between the loose parts of the shelf. I've used the shims because it allows the flexibility to shim each one individually. The last thing I did was to screw the brackets into the shelf. Where you have your space, what you want to do is put a cleat underneath, screw this in underneath the shelf itself. Once you've screwed it in place, then you can come back with your insert piece, insert it in, and then screw it into place. Now you also want to take a cleat and you want to put it underneath the shelf and screw it in underneath the shelf, tying the two pieces together. As you can see, I've tied the two pieces together with a wood cleat. Here's the shelf all the way around the room, complete. What I've done here is I've built a drawer underneath the shelf, just basically making a box out of the plywood, the leftover plywood, and I basically attached it underneath with a computer keyboard hardware, and it just, all it does is roll out and all my controls are right in the drawer. What I've done here is I've taken the 24 by 24 inch square out of the corner and I've made a much larger piece so that I can put more buildings. What I've done is I've started at the controls where I have my control box. Started here, and I've started my wire. Left a little bit so that I've got something to play with, and I've strung my wire, all my electrical bus, all the way around the room. Now the reason I've done this is because I've got to take power off of it for various things, and especially over here where I have the double break, I'm going to have to bring power off because right here I'm going to have a cut in the track here and a cut in the track here, so I'm going to have to put power right in this section here. And what I'm doing here is I'm painting the cork track bed with a coat of the same gray paint. But I've pinned it down where I want the track bed to go, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue it down I've started to lay my track now, and as you can see, I've got some pieces here. This piece has already been cut to go into position, and you can see it comes out. It's on the flip down part of the shelf. When you put the track in, you want to run your track all the way around across the brake, and then once you have it done, you glue this side in, and then you come back. You don't glue this, and you come back, you cut your track, alright, and then you can pull your rails back up as close to the track on the other side as possible. As you can see, I've cut the track, and I've cut it back just a tad on both sides, so that now what I can do is I can bring my track in close and tie it in place, and it's really the shelf that drops down. It won't get hung up on this side, and these will basically be in place, okay, and it doesn't make any difference if they have a little overhang, because this is the stationary, this side is the stationary side. I'm just going to run a little test to see how good it is, and you can see it smoothly runs across. So here it is going across the drop down shelf. As you can see, pretty smoothly goes across, goes around, comes around to the other drop down shelf. I have two of them. There's the other drop down shelf, smoothly right across everything. Rolls right along.